Well, that is a wrap for Michigan State football spring practices. What did we get out of the spring football bonanza that aired on Big Ten Network? Also, obviously took place in front of a good crowd at Spartan Stadium. We got some thoughts on that. Yeah, we're talking quarterbacks right off the top. Let's go.
Are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, how on earth are we all doing? Thank you so much for either kicking off your day, spending some of your weekend with us here at Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white 5 days a week here in the Locked On Podcast Network. Before going any further, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On today to get started. We got an exciting one because football is back in the air in East Lansing. That's right, that crisp 83-degree and sunny air, as Mel Tucker joked, is usually the weather 300 days in East Lansing. God, I wish I would pay an extraordinary amount of money for that to be true. But yeah, hey, by all accounts, a great day for some football, as there always is in East Lansing. And yeah, let's stop beating around the bush here. Let's just get to it. Quarterbacks. All right, quarterbacks. That's what we're all here to talk about today because that is the number one storyline going into this offseason for Michigan State and us fans, them players and coaches over there. And let's kick it off by saying this. I was actually really surprised with how much Mel Tucker and the coaching staff tipped their hand in the open practice today. That's what we're going to call it, the open practice. They had some scrimmage aspect to it. Wasn't necessarily a spring game, as you know by now, but you know there was a ones versus ones scrimmage, the twos versus twos. And before we got into this weekend, I thought that, hey, sure, they'll do ones versus ones, but they'll mix in all three quarterbacks with each group, make it look like, you know, there's some variance in this quarterback competition, which I still think there is. But as it stands right now, as we are leaving spring practice, it is very clear that the pecking order is number one, Payton Thorne. All right, that's the guy who got most of the reps with the ones, if not all the reps with the ones. And then number two, Noah Kim right behind, and then kind of just getting whatever left was there of the table scraps was Katin Houser, the former four-star sophomore that everyone is revved up about, myself included. No doubt, I'm very excited for Katin Houser, but yeah, that is very clearly the pecking order right now. Now, I will say this, there's still a long way to go, all right? The season starts in September, all right? It doesn't start the first weekend of May. All right, there's still the whole summer to go through. There's still the whole fall camp to go through. But yes, as it stands right now, that's your 1, 2, and 3. So let's just go through each guy really quick here and why they are where they are in the order, what they showed at this open practice on Saturday, and just what holds, you know, or what the future holds for them as well. Payton Thorne, maybe it's not a surprise whatsoever, right, that he is the number one guy so far. This is a kid that does have the single season passing touchdown record for Michigan State. He has 30 starts. All right, he is the guy to unseat. Also, it's up to you how much stock you want to take into this, but he spoke after this open practice and said that he played most of last season with an injury that he suffered against Western Michigan last year. Sorry, if I could turn my light back on here. Oh, no, the light is just broken for good. Or is it? Nope, there we go. Professional podcasting. So depending on how much stock you want to take in that statement that he made, because again, I don't think all those shortfalls that he had last year were injury based. There was a lot of decision making last year. He scampered out of the pocket a lot last year, sometimes when there was a clean pocket. But again, as we talked about all through last year, you know, early on in the season, maybe there was reason to scamper early out of that pocket because it was not as strong as we all thought it should have been. But I digress. That's what you get from Payton Thorne. This is why he's the number one guy, though, just because, you know, he does have that much experience behind him. It's hard to unseat an incumbent in any walk of life that you run into, and starting quarterback at a Division I college Power 5 program is not much different. Today, not a lot of like deep ball completions, but he looked fine. Again, these were soft rushes. These guys were going against, they were wearing the red jerseys. That long touchdown run that he had, it was fun. It was great, but Like, I think Simeon Barrow could have closed out on him if he wasn't wearing that red jersey. And I think Malik Spencer at safety actually probably could have just straight up killed him, so running downhill if he wasn't wearing the red jersey. So, yes, he had the long touchdown run. That was great, but a little different in an open practice forum like that where you can't really touch the quarterback. Again, that's not to say that, oh, it's all bad, but I'm kind of bringing this up as a reason of why there is a competition in the first place, right? I mean, I know that Thorne looked strong on Saturday. He looked good. He completed some good passes, but like this is some of the reason too. He did scamper out of the pocket on Saturday, even though there was a clean pocket to pass out of it. And that's something that we saw a lot of last season. I digress. You guys know the Payton Thorne story. Let's go into Noah Kim. Is he him? First and foremost, I'd like to apologize to Noah Kim because I'm like a lot of other people, I like to think. I maybe didn't take him as seriously in this quarterback competition as I should. And it is clear that he's earned the number 2 spot so far going into summer ball out of spring practice. Last year, okay, he competed in 4 games, 77% completion. He had 3 touchdowns. And this is a joke that I use a lot on here. It's that he, and not just for him, for all sports things. I use it for basketball season a lot, but he's kind of like the human form of cryptocurrency, right? He had some god-awful throws, all right, on Saturday. We'll just call it that. He had some throws that you question who he was even throwing to. But then he had some throws, okay, like that 35-yard touchdown pass to Antonio Gates that was thrown in a mailbox right to him that were just so accurate. It's like, oh my God, now I see the vision of Noah Kim being him. But what I love the most about Noah Kim is that he can extend these plays. He has live legs, all right? And, he's got the live arm to go along with it as well. But it's different in the sense that, like, I think he's better timed with when he scrambles and what he does while he's scrambling and how he can throw the ball when he is on the run. But, yeah, Noah Kim, interesting prospect there. He's squarely in this race. It goes without saying at this point. And then last but not least, the third guy, Katin Houser. Didn't really show anything we didn't know on Saturday. The fumbled snap in practice is something we could get on him for, I guess. But then again, Payton Thorne had a fumbled snap, I guess. He had a nice little up-the-seam completion to Malik Carr. But then he did miss some pretty wide open throws too, like Brendan Parachek earlier on in the practice. I got to stop myself because this does sound ridiculous, right? Like I'm just beating up these guys for missing throws in a practice. But like, look, this is the only exposure we get of these guys the entire season. So, I mean, of course, we're going to be doing some overreacting here. He had a bullet to Evan Morris that I thought was thrown in a tight window, showed his arm strength, not just on the deep throws, because obviously he's got the arm strength too, but he's got some zip on those short throws as well. And I just left Saturday with Katin Houser thinking to myself, this is that how perfect of a situation would this be for Michigan State and Katin Houser like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when football was different, when quarterback position was different. And what I mean by that is it was very traditional that a kid would come in, sit for a year, most likely 2 years, and then maybe start his redshirt sophomore year, which is still a pretty good situation to be in. Okay, like 10 years ago, before the whole transfer portal thing blew up, like this would be great. All right, Michigan State either gets to pick between Payton Thorne or Noah Kim. Katin Houser gets to be here for another year, learn the offense for another season, and then as a redshirt sophomore becomes the heir apparent with that arm strength and all. But in this day and age, it feels like if you're a highly rated quarterback out of high school, if you're not starting by your second year of college, you're out of here. And this isn't the episode to debate whether that's good or not. And quite frankly, I don't even know if anyone cares to hear my opinion on that, but that's just the fact of the matter of how things are, right? And that's all that I saw Saturday is like, okay, Katin Houser is probably the third fiddle right now. And again, like we brought up to start the show, there is still months before the season start. Maybe he can climb up that ladder and show that, no, I'm not just a raw talent. I'm also a pretty cerebral quarterback as well. But yeah, it would just be a great situation 10 years ago. Now, with that said, like, no, I don't think that Mel Tucker is going to just, throttle Katin Houser up the ladder just in fear that he's going to transfer if he doesn't get the start, because, that's what coaches do. They never put a player in front of the program. And so, yeah, you're going to play the guy that gives you the best shot to win this season. And that's just what's going to happen. So, yeah, Katin Houser, third fiddle right now. Again, Oh, would be a great situation to have 10 years ago. But no, this is the way I look at it, is that it's a good spot for Michigan State to be in right now. All right. And listen to what I just said. It's a good spot. All right. It's not a great spot. All right. Michigan State is picking between three options that are good. You know, it's a fine spot to be in. Again, this isn't me saying like, oh my God, they have three A+ options. Like, no, if there's an A+ option, it would have been determined by now. Like, there wouldn't be a three-headed quarterback battle going into spring practice. But let's just list what we have for each guy. Option A, Payton Thorne. Okay, again, the guy that started 30 games. He's quarterbacked a New Year's Six bowl winning team. You know, maybe that injury did play into effect last year on things that were outside of decision making, like accuracy, obviously. Option B, Noah Kim. That's a guy who's been here for 3 years. All right, he knows the offense pretty well. Like we just talked about, he can extend plays. He's got a live arm, very exciting player. And then option C in Katin Houser, great raw talent, might have the strongest arm of all those three guys, but each one does have their pitfalls. Option A, Payton Thorne, like we saw last year. Just the decision making at some points last year, and I'm not gonna, pick and prod stuff from things that happened last fall. I'm definitely not still wondering what happened on that 4th and 2 against Indiana when he had Jaden Reed open in the flat, but threw it up to triple covered Keon Coleman. Anyway, scampers out of the pocket too easily. Maybe that's going to be aided this year by a strong offensive line, which we will get to here in a little bit. Relied on Jaden Reed a lot last year. Not here anymore this year. Option B, like we talked about, very volatile. Noah Kim can lace a ball right where you need him to from 30 yards away, as well as he could just throw away a 7-yard slant route. And then option C, looks still young, still clearly learning. But you know what we've also seen too, especially in this conference, the Big Ten Conference, you can win with just an okay quarterback. All right. And that's what Michigan State at worst is picking between. An okay quarterback. Just ask any Big Ten West team that has ever played in Indianapolis. They've all just had okay quarterbacks. And I get Michigan State is in the Big Ten East. It's a little different, but you can still get to like an 8-4 and a 9-3 record with just an okay quarterback. Takes a lot of cooperation from everywhere else on the field. And we're going to go everywhere else on the field here in a hot second. But first, just need to talk your ears off about FanDuel Sportsbook. That's right. We're talking grand slams, no hitters, and double plays. They are back as MLB season is back, and there's no place to get in on the MLB action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. I usually say, hey, they're the only reason why watching the Detroit Tigers is bearable, but our Motor City Kitties are on a 3-game winning streak, and if you've been on FanDuel betting on those bless you boys, and well, yeah, you've probably had yourself a nice little weekend so far. And gang, it gets even better if you're a new customer, because new customers step up to the plate and get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up, place your first bet, and get in on the $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win. Do not miss your chance to get in on the no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon today to sign up. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. Let's get back into the mix here of the Saturday spring football open practice. The other storylines, because contrary to popular belief, there are more positions on a football field than quarterback. Who knew? So who else was on the ones? It was running back Nathan Carter. That's right. The transfer from UConn has already brought himself up that high into spring practice. Tight end Tyneil Hopper, the block first tight end out of Boise State. And then wide receiver was Montorie Foster, Christian Fitzpatrick, and Trey Mosley. You might notice that a pretty big name was missing there, Keon Coleman. We'll get to him in a little bit. At left tackle, you had Brandon Baldwin. Left guard, J.D. Duplain. Center, Nick Samak. Right guard, that's right, Gino Vandemark, which is very interesting. And then right tackle, Spencer Brown. On defense, Avery Dunn, Brandon Wright as your defensive ends, Chris Bogle, he was also sidelined as well. Defensive tackle, Maverick Hansen, Simeon Barrow. The linebackers, you already know what it was, Cal Halliday and Jacoby Windman. And at cornerback, you have Justin White, you have Marquis Lowry, and then at safety, Jaden Mangum and Angelo Gross. There you have it. That is set in stone. Nothing's going to change over the offseason. That is going to be the starting lineup for September 2nd against Central Michigan. Of course, I'm being very sarcastic, but that's where things stand right now going out of spring. The injuries, Darius Snow. All right, he still has a big leg brace on his left leg that he injured. However, on Saturday night. He tweeted out, quote, "Next time y'all see me in them pads, I'm going to be hitting something to best believe." That is right. He is basically saying, I will be good for the fall. And the next time that you see me on that field, it's not going to be in a leg brace. It's going to be me going towards someone and having them brace for impact, as I will be putting the hurt on them. That is the best way to decipher that tweet. I absolutely love seeing that because, God, what a talent that we missed last year with Darius Snow getting hurt roughly 16 seconds into the season last year. Chris Bogle was also out. Jarrett Jackson also out. Dre Butler was also out. Keon Coleman was out. Charles Brantley was out. Dylan Tatum was out. Aid Willie was out. And then Quavion Carter was also out. And Quavion Carter and AJ Kirk actually weren't even seen on the field by people there at all. So we'll see if that's a transfer portal thing or a just injured thing or something that's none of the above thing. But yeah, there were a good amount of injuries going on this spring. How serious they were, of course, we're never going to know from Mel Tucker, but yeah, he's not even going to risk anything. So this could all just be minor blips on the radar. And just like we said, Keon Coleman was one of those players as well. He was dressed, he was padded up, like he was wearing everything, but didn't partake in many, if any, drills. Was definitely not part of the scrimmaging aspect of that. Again, I don't think there's much room for panic there. So what else stood out to me? For me, we're just going to go down a list of random thoughts right now. I was really, really impressed with the number 5. And that goes with 2 reasons. One was Nathan Carter, the UConn transfer running back, friend of the program, was on this little podcast not too long ago. And I swear I'm not just pandering to him, but man, that's a breath of fresh air compared to what we saw last year from the running back room. Jalen Berger was fine. Like, I really think he came along well last season. Good cuts, good vision from him last year. But beyond Jalen Berger, Eli Collins had his good moments, but it was kind of empty after that, wasn't it? Nathan Carter, he's got the wiggle. He's got the speed. Like, he just burst off the line when he gets handed that ball. Also can catch the ball out of the backfield, which we really like. So, yes. Maybe, just maybe, is cemented in that first string running back role. And then the other number 5, Jordan Hall. That's right. True freshman, early enrollee from IMG Academy. Looked the part too. And, you know, it sounds kind of silly. Like, yeah, he's a college football player. Of course, he looks like he belongs. But sometimes these true freshmen get in there and you look at them and you're like, oh, yeah, you could probably gain 15 to 25 pounds before you even get on the field or you're going to get hurt. Like, no, Jordan Hall he looks the part out there, and also love the way he attacked the ball too. He's got some really good speed, really good instinct as well. Is he going to be attacking Jacoby Windman's starting spot? No, that's not what I'm saying, but I would not be surprised to see him get some meaningful reps on the field this season, even as a true freshman linebacker, which is very rare to say. And is that because he's good enough to do it? Yeah, I think so. But also, too, I think it's going to be an aspect of maybe needing him to do it as well, as the linebacker position is still a little on the thinner side. Yes, you have Windman. Yes, you have Halliday, but behind him, Aaron Brule, who is, you know, second string guy, pretty good in the coverage game, but played sparingly last year for a reason. And then Quavion Carter, we'll see what happens with him. Darius Snow, we'll see when he comes back. Ma'anau Teote left with an arm injury. You'd imagine that gets patched up by the time September rolls around, but maybe Jordan Hall just is that good to leap a few of those guys. I was also really impressed, too, with Tyrell Henry. I mean, that was a great one-handed catch that he had on a ball thrown behind him. I believe Houser was the quarterback on that one. But Christian Fitzpatrick, Montori Foster, they got run with the ones. So it's maybe right now, as we're leaving spring practice, safe to say that it's either Fitzpatrick or Foster. That will be that third receiver behind Keon Coleman. And then Trey Mosley, Mr. Reliable, of course. But wow, I mean, every time I just watch Tyrell Henry, he impresses me, whether it's just him running routes in the receiving game or like we saw later last season in the kickoff return game as well. So I think that there will be reps to be had on the field for Tyrell Henry going into next season. The next one that I have jotted down, Tumise Adeleye just might be him. No, I'm not saying that he's going to be a first-round draft pick after this year, but that is definitely a guy that is a very valuable piece to have on your defense. Again, hey, this was just a 2-hour window that we got to peek into this spring practice, but you saw everything that we were kind of hoping to see out of him, right? Versatility. All right. Can you play him inside? Can you play him with his hand in the dirt? Can you play him on the edge? Is he fast? Does he have the raw instinct and the raw moves to get into the backfield? And yeah, just in a handful of reps, you already saw that from him. Also, did an interview, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. The guy already looks like he's in his early 30s. Like this kid is, third year of college coming up? He looks like a grown man already, which is maybe why he gets that 5-star rating outside of high school. And you know what? Before we get into the offensive line, let's talk about this. We're going to try to segue this nicely here. Mel Tucker talked about the transfer portal, all right, because the transfer portal opened up. I believe it was on Saturday, actually, that it opened up. And here we go, head first into the spring transfer portal window. Mel Tucker said, quote, "We'll have to see if we lose anyone. I'm not sure how much attrition we will have." And Michigan State can add, I think it's 2 or 3 players right now. That number goes up if guys leave the program. But again, you've heard me talk about this throughout the last few weeks. This is going to be the good time to add some depth, whether it's linebacker, whether it's safety, whether it's, I don't know, if they want to bring in a 48th tight end this offseason. We'll see what they want to do. But yeah, I don't think that they're going to be fishing for any instant starters. It's not usually what the spring transfer portal window is for. That's usually for guys that have seen where they are in the depth chart at their program and say, all right, I'm on the 3 deep. Not the 2 deep, sayonara. So just so everyone has the right mindset going into the spring transfer portal window. And speaking of transfer portal window, Michigan State actually did have someone enter the transfer portal. That is Tavion Brown, a.k.a. Tank Brown. It was not so much, hey, I'm going to go in the transfer portal as much as it was, you are kicked off the team, because as it broke before the weekend, he's got some gun charges against him, some firearm charges against him. He was also in that tunnel incident in Ann Arbor last week. And unlike what they do in Ann Arbor, where if you have a gun charge, you actually start the rest of the season and you're not punished whatsoever, you actually are held accountable when you commit something like that and you are kicked off the team. I know that's very weird for anyone in Ann Arbor to understand. Again, which program has the culture problem? I guess it's not the one that practices at Schembechler Hall. That's right, Schembechler Hall. Just an upstanding individual right there. Again, but the culture problem is in East Lansing here. Anyway, Tank Brown entered the portal. So yeah, there you have it. So that's your defensive line news, I guess. So let's go to the offensive line before we go to Twitter questions. The offensive line, the starters there, as we named, okay, it was Brandon Baldwin, J.D. Duplain, Nick Samac, Gino Vandermark, Spencer Brown. No Keyshawn Blackstock, which I thought was a little interesting. He was with the twos. He was at left tackle. All right, Evan Brunning at left guard, Dallas Fincher at center, Kevin Wigginton at right guard, and then Ethan Boyd at right tackle. I thought that Keyshawn Blackstock would be in position to start. And again, hey, we got months to decide this. Maybe he does jump up to right tackle, or maybe he does take that spot away from Gino Vandermark. But maybe he's just that Swiss Army knife that is the first guy off the bench that's still getting a good amount of reps throughout any of these games. I'm not going to be punching the table if he doesn't start, because I think he's going to be talented enough to get like a starter amount of reps during the season, maybe at 2-3 different positions in a single game, if you will. And speaking of offensive line, MSU got a commitment from Logan Bennett. That's right, out of Baltimore, Maryland. He is a 3-star kid, the number 76 rated interior offensive line, according to the 24/7 Sports Composite. Nationally, he ranks 1,049th in the class, but good measurables. All right, he's 6'6", 300 pounds. Again, plays interior offensive line, and this comes less than a week after Andrew Dennis committed to Michigan State as well. So that's 2 offensive line commitments for Michigan State in the 2024 class. Now, let's get to some Twitter thoughts from you guys. I tweeted out, that's right, Sheehan_sports, if you ever want to hop online. Have any grand sweeping takes from today's MSU spring football bonanza? Drop them below and we may riff on them on the show tonight. And you guys, as you always do, you came out strong. You responded with a lot of your takes and a lot of Noah Kim takes, which we will read through as well. And former co-host of this podcast, that's right, Max Valencio is his Twitter name. His real name is Will Hunter. Everything that happened today, let's take it from the top. Everything that happened today will be 100% indicative of what happens in the fall. Start today, you start in the fall. Touchdown today, touchdown in the fall. Fart during stretches today. That's right, you're going to fart during stretches in the fall. If you don't believe me, if you like what Will Hunter has to think about everything, yeah, that's just another reminder that what you saw today, a very far cry from what we could see in the fall. But hey, still, again, not going to stop us from overreacting. The K-Man writes in, I learned that apparently it is also spring practice for the Big Ten Network production team too. I'm going to have to, oh God, sadly agree with you on that one. Again, they were in a very tough spot, right? I mean, this was an open practice. There's not a lot that you can show. Michigan State did Big Ten Network no favors whatsoever with the route that they decided to go with their format. But with that said, it's an hour into this production, and I've seen Andrew Shofar, that's a name you've probably never heard, throw the most passes out of anyone in the first hour of production. Like, can we get the camera on? No offense to Andrew Shofar. I mean, pride of DeWitt. Any other player that we could probably see out there? Anyway, they tried their best. I'm sure, right? Spartan D4L says Jordan Hall is the real deal. 100% touched on that. He also wrote in this practice portion, Houser seemed best, but Thorne dominated the scrimmage. Thorne will be QB1. That's certainly the way it seems. I wish we could see more live reps. I wish we could see it without the red shirts on them to see how they do under real pressure. But yeah, I mean, that's probably the good way to dissect that. And just like you said about Houser, yeah, like his arm strength is amongst the best, but it doesn't do any good if you don't know the offense as well as everyone else, for example. He also wrote Noah Kim also hit the best deep passes, but missed on the most open passes too. So there you go. This is an interesting one from Nestle's Quick Hotel. It's a great Twitter name. Start Izzo's 5K later or make the game earlier. 4,500 people on campus who I think many would gladly settle into the stands right after the race. All right, it'd be a little stinky. I get that. And it probably would have. I mean, coming fresh off a 5K and then you're going to sit in some 85-degree sun. That's not going to be the best smelling stadium of all time. But I do agree with that. I think the Izzo 5K started at what, 9:30 or 10 o'clock? It takes you anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes to run a 5K, depending on how good your cardio is and what kind of night you had before. But yeah, you're probably done with this by 10:30 at the very latest, 11 o'clock. How many people are waiting around for 3 hours for the spring game to start? I don't know. If it were up to me, and I don't think this advice will be taken because I don't think anyone important enough is listening to this, but this is how I would do it. I would, let's say, spring game, 2 o'clock. Okay, that's where it starts. Start your 5K at 12 or 12:30. I know that today it would have been unbearably hot, but usually in mid-April, the weather's doing okay. So a high noon start time for this doesn't affect everything. I know that they finish this on the football field. Maybe, hear me out here, but for the Izzo 5K, maybe you finish it in Breslin Center. And I know that seems a little quirky, but you can enter through the south loading tunnel down there and then through the tunnels of the interior of Breslin Center and then finish on the court. It's just maybe 200 yards through that path that I just did. I think it'd be pretty cool to do. And then you can leave. All right. Oh, what's that? Just 45 minutes till the spring game starts. It's just right across Munn Field. Let's get it popping. So yeah, if it was up to me, I would do that. I think that you do lose a lot of fans that way, but that's not to say there wasn't a good turnout today, because what I saw on Big Ten Network was a very impressive turnout, especially for how hot it was. And again, it was a beautiful day, but eventually 84 and just straight sun like that does wear on you a little bit. And it does. So credit to the fans. We're going to give a shout out to the fans here. Zach Stowe writes, the guys with the number 1 jerseys on Ken Ball. That is, of course, the Mangum brothers. Josh B writes, Spencer gonna be a player. Our QBs are big meh. So Josh B kind of agrees with what we were talking about at the end of that first segment, is like, yeah, it's maybe a good situation to be in, but these guys do have their shortcomings, and the shortcomings are going to stand out more to some people than others. And Josh B sees that, maybe this isn't looking good. Mark, oh God, I'm going to screw up your last name. Mark S, how about that? The kicking looks to be a concern still. Only Steven Rusnak was making kicks today. Jonathan Kim does not get to campus until this summer. Again, that's not going to be the defiant answer for our kicking problems, because Jonathan Kim, I think, kicked 1 extra point last year. Like, we still got to see this kid actually do field goal kicking. But yeah, I'm already just miserable over field goal kicking. Anyway, whatever. Sparty Jack writes, we don't have a quarterback who has taken the job, and our D is suspect for future growth that we are used to. So the vibes aren't always high here in East Lansing. And that was one other thing, too, is like, yeah, Thorne looks good. Kim looks good. Houser, okay, looked okay. yikes about the secondary then? Like, like, maybe this isn't good for our defense, but whatever. I'm trying to keep it positive here. We'll have that discussion a different day. A QB to Cole, an MSU QB to Coleman. I like that name. Bro, I'm seeing a lot of people impressed with Kim, and I don't get it. He did have a couple nice throws, but was really wild on some others. Someone explain the hype to me. The hype is that it's someone different, not named Thorne. And I think there's a lot of people that are just done with Thorne. And whenever you see Kim have that dart to Antonio Gates Jr., for example, like you kind of see the vision with him there. But yeah, I think it would be kind of foolish to just throw away all those bad throws he had, because that is part of the game there. He also wrote in, I'm extremely impressed with Jordan Hall. I think he plays as a true freshman. Our young wide receivers also impressed me, but that also makes me nervous about our secondary. Again, I'm going to be positive here. The young guys are really good at wide receiver, no doubt. I'll just stop it there. Katin Houser will be QB1 by the time the season fully begins. All right, says Gavin. There we go. Beat writers hating on a 19-year-old college athlete, and anyone that calls himself a fan of him will forever be unprofessional and lame. I know what you're talking about. I'm not going to get into that. That's okay. We're going to just sideline that one there. Santi Aldama fan. That's right. Payton Thorne is going to bounce back and lead us to 12-0 and the national championship while being a Heisman finalist. If that happens, if Payton Thorne leads us to 12-0, I will eat a Payton Thorne burger every single meal for a month. How about that? The Hopcat Payton Thorne burger. I will consume that breakfast, lunch, dinner for a straight month. If he goes 12-0 and is a Heisman finalist, maybe even a full year. Who knows? G Quan writes Noah Kim supremacy. Let's go. Stand up, Noah Kim gang. Let's go. And then Verbose Duchess writes, we want UGA. For what? For what? For what reason do we want Georgia right now? I mean, oh my God. Good Christ. I love the spirit, though. I love the attitude. That's what we're talking about. What a proper way to get out of a spring football practice bonanza episode right there. Just saying we want Georgia. That's right. We weren't impressed with what you did to TCU in the national title game. Come up to East Lansing, where it's always 83 and sunny, and see if you can beat Noah Kim throwing to Antonio Gates Jr. That's right. There we go. All right, gang. We'll be back this week. We got basketball recruiting talk coming up tomorrow with Rob Cassidy. He heads everything up at Rivals. That'll be a good chat. And then anything else that pops up this week, I'm sure the transfer portal will be buzzing. You know where to find us. Locked on Spartans, your team of green and white, 5 days a week. Love you all. Go Green.